Good evening, Supervisors. It's June 7th at 5 o'clock, and we're going to call the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors to order. At this time, we'll have invocation. And I'm not sure if Jacob Orissel is, if not, we'll all stand for a moment of silence, please. And would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Cindy?
Oh, they're growing, they're getting bigger. Yeah, we're trying to get them. We've got about 5 kids working for me, trying to get them all weeded off so you can see them, get to them. No, they're, yeah, it should be a good crop.
Do you want to notice that Dave and John?
Do we have to put more here again? Okay. Where's Austin? We had several people gone. Weird.
1, 2, 3. That's the worst we've ever had in a couple of years.
Well, for a brand new board, it's kind of weird.
Sorry.
Supervisor Osmus is excused, Supervisor Calder was excused, and I hadn't heard from Supervisor Berggren, so I don't. So Roy?
I had heard from Supervisor Bergen. She's stuck up in Alexandria. She didn't have Cindy Campbell's phone number, so she contacted me and asked me to relay that to Cindy, which I did prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, we're open for public comment on or off the agenda. And so anyone at this time that the public wants to stand up for anything, I have Judge Waterman that has something to say. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Waterman, I am one of the St. Croix County Circuit Court judges. I appear tonight on behalf of the Drug Court. If you're not familiar with Drug Court takes qualified nonviolent drug offenders and places them into intensive chemical treatment and therapy. Participants who complete the program and remain law-abiding and sober and employed and otherwise meet the program expectations graduate, and in return oftentimes receive reduced sentences or reduced jail. Studies have shown that drug courts are effective and they work, and they save money by reducing crime and recidivism. This year marks the 10-year anniversary for the St. Croix County Drug Court, and we have a couple of events planned that I just wanted to invite the board to, as well as the public. First is on Wednesday, June 15, that's next week. One of the participants will be graduating. If you've never been to a drug court session or graduation, this will be a wonderful opportunity for you to be introduced to what drug courts do and also see a genuine success story. Also at night at 6:30 at the New Richmond High School, we have a guest speaker. His name is Jeff Van Vonderen. I have a couple of flyers here that I'll leave in the back if you're interested. Mr. Van Vonderen is an interventionist, and he appears on A&E Television's Emmy award-winning documentary series called Intervention. And he's going to talk about addiction, treatment, and recovery. I expect it's going to be a very informative and educational and entertaining program. So if you're available, please attend. We would love to have you. Members of the public, if you're available and interested, we'd love to have you attend as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Waterman. Now we have Ed Reiners wants to speak.
Yes, my name is Ed Reinders. I live in Holton. I'm here to express some concerns I have about some safety issues on my road that goes right by my house. I live about halfway up the hill from the bridge on County E. It's a very, very heavily traveled road. It's approximately at least 4,000 vehicles a day go by my house, which is no problem with me, but my main concern is it is designated as a bicycle route, and there are, the road is too narrow for a bicycle route, in my opinion. There are no lines painted on the side of the road for a bicycle route. On the weekends, it is extremely busy with pedestrians and bicyclists. In my opinion, it's an accident waiting to happen. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, there are no other center lines painted up the center of the road like they are on all other county roads. No yellow lines designating the center of the road, or no passing zones. That's my second issue. My third issue would be there are also 4-ton limit signs on that road, and it is constantly traveled by trucks, well over the 4-ton limit. I called a month and a half ago, or more than that, the sheriff's department, because I sit out on my front porch a lot. I'm retired, I read, I listen to the radio, I watch the traffic go by. I enjoy that kind of action. I'm gonna kind of miss the road when it's gone in that respect. However, when I'm sitting there, there's been virtually no police patrol going by there. I see more Stillwater policemen come up there than I do sheriff's people from the county. I called the county about it, and the gal I talked to said that they would increase their patrol by there, but I haven't seen any difference, and that's no big deal. But my biggest concern is that highway needs to be marked. I, for the life of me, don't understand why it is not painted. I understand, one of my understandings is that it's not painted because it might increase the traffic flow up there because people think it's more of a main road. Well, if they want to do that, then why don't they just put up signs there that says residents only or no through traffic and make them go around the other way? I'm sure many of you are familiar with this area, maybe some of you aren't, but it is a safety concern, especially with the pedestrian traffic and the bicycle traffic. I also feel, although most people pretty well abide, in my estimation, by the speed limit, that there should be a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit through that area instead of the 35-mile-an-hour. I noticed on the north end of Hudson all the way down through town there is a 25-mile-per-hour limit, and people really abide by that. And the main reason is because there's a lot of police patrolling that. And I don't expect that in Holton. I certainly don't expect a lot of policemen in coming through Holton all the time, but occasionally I'd certainly like to see one go by there, just enforcing the law. But my main concerns again are the safety of the bicyclists and pedestrians. Why it's designated a bicycle trail, I don't know. To me, it's unsuited for that. I know the road's gonna be torn out, but that got delayed a year, so it's gonna be another year, 3 or 4 or 5 months before anything is done to that road. So I would like to see just very minimal money spent, just lines painted on a road like a normal highway would be, and some speed limit signs put up. And I don't know about the 4-ton limit. Looks to me like the police could make a fortune there if they just start arresting people over limit on a truck. So basically that's all I've got, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you for your time, and I will turn this over to the chair of Highway. Supervisor Peavy. You can put that on your agenda if you'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll add it to our agenda at our next, probably won't make the June meetings, but July meeting though.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Supervisor Sloberg?
I'll make a motion to approve with a comment that in the minutes, under the annual department reports, the report from the Veteran Service Officer, if you all remember, we were concerned about the regionalization, which would have amounted to the closing of the office in Richmond. And we all know that that didn't go through, but I had asked to receive the names of the representatives, the state representatives that had authored and sponsored that legislation. And it states in the minutes that Mr. Koch was confirmed that he was going to provide me that information, and that information has not been provided. So I'm still looking for that.
Okay, they have a second from Supervisor Ring. Any further discussion? No further discussion?
I'll follow up on that with the Veteran Service Officer to make sure that you get that.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, we ready to vote? Egan?
Just
Second.
minutes, yeah.
All yeses, the supervisor's here. Thank you. We'll go into presentations. Recognizing Free Legal Clinic. Who wants to take that? Pat?
I think Supervisor Ring will say a few words. This was a request by Supervisor Ring to recognize the St. Croix County Free Legal Clinic, and I believe Linda is here, but I'll turn it over to Supervisor Ring.
Yes, thank you and thank you to Jackie Montreal for making this happen. This did come, many of you have seen the long line of people that are here one night a month for the Free Legal Clinic. And I met Linda Sheritz a few years ago when she was about to retire. And one of the things that she wanted to make sure that she continued to do was to coordinate the Free Legal Clinic because she believed in it so much. She has retired. She's moved from New Richmond to Woodbury, and she still comes back to do this. So I think the only thing I wanted to do is just make people aware of what this is and extend our appreciation. I think many of us see volunteers of all kinds in our work and in our own volunteer work, and I think it's just we want to express our appreciation for what you do and build the understanding of it for people. So Linda, please introduce yourself, and we had some information in our packet, and just give an overview if you would.
My name is Linda Sheritz, and I've been working with the Free Legal Clinic since it started in 2005. It was started by attorney Maureen Wegleitner and the clerk of court Lori Meyer at the time, and I happened to be Maureen's legal assistant, and so I helped her get it going. My role right now is I schedule the attorneys. We have about 5 attorneys each month, and they all answer questions in different areas of law. They come from 6 until 7:30, so there's an hour and a half of moving people through. Every month we've been averaging about 25 to 35 people a month. I'm keeping track of statistics just to see what areas of law they have questions about. And in January, I started keeping track of where the people were coming from, and they're coming from all over the county. If you notice on the handout that was in the packet, we also have some people from Minnesota that come here. Now, many of the attorneys are licensed in both Minnesota and Wisconsin, but we only answer Wisconsin questions about Wisconsin law. The people that are coming from Minnesota either have a judgment or a probate, or they have some connection to what's happening, and not just in St. Croix County, it could be Pierce or Polk County also. In 2011, Judge Bowles from Pierce County asked that we get something started in Pierce County for them, because he felt there was a need for that. I schedule those attorneys, but I don't attend each month. That is handled by attorney Phil Helgeson from the Hayward, Carey, and Anderson firm. And he attends each month in Pierce County as I do in St. Croix County. And what I do is just question the people that are coming in to see where their question is, and then direct them to the appropriate attorney. And then they also sign a waiver saying that they understand we aren't representing them, we're just giving information. A lot of the people that come are referrals from the clerk of court's office or the register in probate or child support. And the child support office provides one of their staff people to be at the legal clinic each month. And they don't have, a lot of times the people that come and have child support questions have already gone through the child support office, and now they're needing information from an attorney. I'd like to thank the county board for allowing us to continue to have the legal clinic here at the courthouse. That's really important. And I'd also like to thank the attorneys that volunteer. We have a couple here, Mark Verity and Rose Allen are here. Many of the people on the list that was in your packet attend both the third Wednesday of the month in St. Croix County and then the fourth Tuesday of the month in Pierce County. So the attorneys really do extend their days, and I appreciate them showing up. And I'd also like to thank the person that's really helpful for me is Julie Iverson, who's the receptionist at the Bakke Norman Law Office in New Richmond. Julie and I used to work together, and so I do the scheduling. She prints the letters, sends them out to the attorneys, helps me put the schedule together, and then each month she sends an email reminder to the attorneys in both St. Croix and Pierce County to remind them that it's their turn to provide information at the clinic. So again, thank you for allowing us to continue to hold our clinic here. Does anybody have any questions about the clinic?
Any questions? If not, a big thank you to what you do. Appreciate it. We'll move on. We have Lynn Nelson from West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission.
Good evening. As Chairman Larson said, my name is Lynn Nelson, and I am the Executive Director of the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. I'm here tonight with Beth Wildhart, and we're hoping to do a couple of things. We'll try to keep it brief. We're under instructions that you want to get out quickly. It's nice out, so we'll do our best. But I just wanted to provide you with a brief overview on our organization and the type of work that we do, and then provide you with a few examples of some of the projects we've been working on in St. Croix County over the past year. And then I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and she is going to give you an update on the Regional Business Fund, which is an important regional revolving loan fund for businesses that the staff of the Regional Planning Commission administer. I don't know if you remember that last year when we were here, we were talking about some things that were happening with the Regional Business Fund that weren't so positive. So Beth has better news this time, so you can look forward to that at the end. So our goal in presenting this is just for you to walk away with a better understanding of the work that we do, so that if you're talking about a project or have an issue, you know that you can come to us. We definitely want to continue to partner with St. Croix County on the existing projects, new projects, all kinds of things that you have going on, both locally and regionally. So to start off, just a few minutes about some background on our organization. So the Regional Planning Commission is a multi-county planning organization that was established in 1971 under state statutes. We cover 7 counties, including Barron, Chippewa, Clark, Dunn, Eau Claire, Polk, and St. Croix counties. And we're governed by a 21-member board of directors, which is made up of 3 representatives from each of the 7-member counties. Over the past 2 years, the representatives from St. Croix County have been Agnes Ring, Travis Schachner, and Larry Weisenbeck. So we thank those people for their service to our organization, and we look forward to working with Agnes and Larry over the next couple of years, and I understand you'll be appointing another new person, possibly Tom Coulter tonight, or whoever you appoint, so we look forward to working with those people in the future as well. In addition to those board members who provide direction to our organization, we also have a staff of 12 people with degrees in finance, economic development, planning, public administration, that really carry out the work that we do at the local level. So the overall goal of our organization is to assist units of government in planning for the social and economic development needs of the region. And we do that in 3 primary ways. We assist state and federal agencies in communicating with local units of government, helping to resolve issues or sharing information. We also assist units of government in looking at issues at a regional level, and those issues could occur in all 7 counties at one time. They could occur beyond our boundaries, or they could be issues that are affecting a smaller unit of jurisdictions within the region, such as a smaller number of counties or maybe a group of communities. And then we also provide technical assistance and advice to local units of government directly through contracts. Our services fall into 4 broad categories, including economic development, transportation, community development, and conservation and mapping. Over the past year, we've done a variety of projects in St. Croix County under all of those categories, but there are examples of, some more specific examples in your project. I believe that we included 4 sample projects that we've worked on over the past year in your packet, and I won't go over those in detail. If you have questions, you could give me a call or ask them tonight too. But the ones that are included in your packet that we've worked on is, number 1, the St. Croix Valley Business Incubator, a project that we worked on with the City of River Falls, the River Falls Economic Development Corporation, the University of Wisconsin River Falls, and the Chippewa Valley Technical College. We assisted those entities in applying for funding through the Federal Economic Development Administration. I think when we were here last year, an application had been submitted and not funded. We went back to the drawing board, put that application together again, resubmitted it, and the result was that that group of entities received a grant for $1.4 million to cover half of the cost of the project, with matching funds coming from a variety of other entities. So that's a really great project that we're really proud to have worked on. A few of the other ones in your packet are a Safe Routes to School plan for the Baldwin-Woodville area, the St. Croix County Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan, which we're working on with Tool Design Group, and also a Town of Somerset Comprehensive Plan. All projects that we've worked on, there's a lot more. There's a summary list at the front, but those are some of the projects that we provided more specific information on. So that's kind of a quick look at our organization. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and she'll update you on the Regional Business Fund.
Good evening. I am Beth Waldhart, and I'm the fund manager at the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. 100% of my time at the Regional Planning Commission is involved with administering the Regional Business Fund, which is a consolidated revolving loan fund. I work alongside Levi Wagner and Jen Ludwig in our office to manage the revolving loan fund, the facade loan program, and also the microloan program. As you may recall, last year I was here with some pretty dire news that HUD had recently come down with a ruling that forced us to place a moratorium on all loan applications. We had gone through a process over many years to what we call defederalize the funds. So it was a process in which repayments to the Regional Business Fund, a nonprofit, would lose their federal identity. It would no longer have to abide by federal rules and regulations. On April 1st of 2015, we were informed that HUD had reversed that decision and placed the federal requirements back on all of our funds. So what we did over the course of many months, working with our local, state, and federal legislators, was to essentially fight that, because we felt we did the right thing. We felt that we had the proper guidance when we did it initially. And it turns out that we did. So Tammy Baldwin and Ron Kind both sent letters to HUD at the federal level advocating for our defederalized status, and we got the ruling reversed. So I'm happy to say that our fund is back open just as it was before April 1st of 2015. We're getting a lot of activity. We haven't had to change one thing in our fund. St. Croix County has always been a very active member of the Regional Business Fund, and I did bring along some figures. This is from May of 2007 is when the fund originated, and I have our figures here are through the end of May of 2016. In total, we have helped 91 businesses, of which 32 are startup businesses, for a total of 93 loans, totaling almost $7 million. That has helped to retain 834 jobs, helped businesses create almost 600 positions, and has helped to leverage $42 million of private financing. So we're really proud of that. Very grateful that St. Croix County was so good to work with. We had to go through a process of rewriting some grants that the state had written originally. That was the issue that HUD had pinpointed, is that the state had had some issues with these grants, and many of which had been paid off. And so we had to go back to some of these businesses to have them sign new contracts for loans that had been paid in full. And so we got all those contracts signed. We had the cooperation of St. Croix County, because they had to sign off on it as well. And it ended up being a really big success. So thank you very much for your support, not only on that, but all along as we were working through this issue.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions at this time?
I just have
Supervisor
a question. I'm curious, in the assistance or resource that you perhaps use in the University Extension or UW system, will the proposed changes and cuts in funding impact your organization, and if so, in what way?
It won't affect our funding at all. Our funding comes from the repayments of our existing portfolio. We've got a portfolio of roughly $11.5 million, of which we get about $3.5 million of repayments every year. So our funding is continual. We do rely upon the small business development centers pretty heavily in helping our businesses, our applicants, with business planning and forecasting projections, financial projections. So they're a real big partner of the Regional Business Fund.
Any other questions? Agnes?
I'd just like to make a comment that members of the board, with your communities, if you have questions, the Regional Planning Commission is a great place to get some technical assistance. And the other thing is, I've just thought of 3 or 4 things that we have discussed at this board that the Regional Planning Commission discusses or maybe works together on. One is broadband. We did have a conversation about UW Extension and what other counties are doing. The Housing Revolving Loan Fund in the counties, we had input into that. We had some issues. We shared them all at once. We have an issue tonight with FEMA. We're going to bring that to the board because there's and correcting some problems. So I just wanted to say, I think there's a very talented staff there, and they are wonderful resources for your community, so please keep them in mind.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll say thank you to Lynn and her staff. Appreciate all the work you do. We will move on to appointments. And I believe I have the library appointments in front of me that I have to make. So at this time we have, for the library, we have to have 2 members off the administration committee, and Supervisor Scholberg and Bergman will be there. One from the county supervisors at large, Supervisor Ochterhoff. And then from the library directors, it'll be Nancy Miller from River Falls, and Chrissa Coleman from Roberts. And that's the appointments that I have, and I need a motion to approve that. Supervisor Nelson, I have a second. Supervisor Peavy. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, we're ready to vote on this then, so. That's all yeses, the supervisor's president. Thank you. And I will turn it over to our county administrator, Mr. Thompson, for some more appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, in your packet this afternoon, I believe the clerk submitted the list of appointments in your packet. I would ask your approval of these. If you want to, I'll go through them quickly. If you want to pull any out, you can, but I'd ask for a motion to approve the entire slate of appointments. I'll run through them quickly so members of the public that are viewing or listening can follow along. For the Bass Lake Rehab District, Supervisor Chris Babbitt, the County Traffic Safety Commission, Supervisor Peavy, Supervisor Ochterhoff, Commissioner Ramberg. From the Highway Department, Sheriff John Schultz, Jeff Klatt, Scott Cox, Matt Melby, J.R. Dockel, and Kristen Saylor. For the Hudson Area Intergovernment Advisory Committee, County Board Chair Roger Larson. For the Land Information Advisory Council, Supervisor Hanson. Partnership Team of the Lower St. Croix Management, Supervisor Ring. Alternate Supervisor Hanson. Squaw Lake Rehab District, Supervisor Seacard. St. Croix Economic Development Corporation Board, Supervisor Hanson, Supervisor Ring, Supervisor Seacard. St. Croix County Fair Board, Supervisor Anderson, Supervisor Ochterhoff, Supervisor Berkey. Veteran Service Commission, those appointments will be made in December, so there are no appointments this evening. West Central Area Land and Water Conservation Association, Supervisor Schoberg. West Cap, Supervisor Osnes. West Central Regional Planning Commission, Supervisor Tom Coulter, Supervisor Agnes Ring, and Citizen Member Larry Wiesenbeck. West Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Area, County Board Chair Roger Larson, and Western Wisconsin I-94 Corridor Coalition, Supervisor Nelson. Willow River Rehab District, Supervisor Hanson. And then representing the county board at Wisconsin Counties Association, I don't think these are actual appointments, but Supervisor Larson and Supervisor Osnes. Those are the appointments I have for you this evening, Mr. Chairman.
So move. Supervisor Seacard. Do I have a second? Supervisor Babbitt, second. Is there any discussion on these appointments? If there's no discussion, we have a motion and a second. Supervisor Hanson, did you have a?
I'd like to get the contact information for these organizations that I'm involved with. Just like to find, especially the Willow River Rehab District. I want to know who the contact is for that so that I can reach out to them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
We can do that. Yep.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, we're ready to vote on this then. This is all yes with supervisors present. Thank you. We'll move forward now to the annual department reports and HHS Director, Mr. Fred Johnson.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for taking some time to hear a little bit about Health and Human Services on your agenda tonight. A couple of things that I wanted to start out with first is, for those of you that might not be aware, June 14th at 6 p.m. in this room, the Health and Human Services Board and the Council on Aging and Disabilities will hold a joint meeting on our required public participation process and seeking input on the 2017 budget, as well as input from the public with regard to our service delivery. So if you're available and want to provide input, you're certainly welcome to join us. I put a copy of our annual report at each of your desks, and one of the things that I would highlight on the very first page is, believe it or not, July 1st, we will be coming up on year 2 of being at the new service center. It's gone quickly, and it's a great facility, quite an improvement from where we were before, and again, appreciate the county board's support to purchase the building, renovate, and have that as our primary office location. In the report, it's a little bit different from previous years. The Health and Human Services Board and the Council on Aging and Disabilities, as well as some feedback from County Board Supervisors. Here, I remember in particular, Supervisor Schoberg had asked for maybe a little more data. And so through work at the Health and Human Services Board and again the Council, we pulled together what has been referred to as some at-a-glance reports. And those reports really are going to be done a couple of times a year and provide input on service delivery in maybe a little bit different format, not necessarily just verbiage about what we do, but charts and graphs about who we're serving and in some ways how we're making a difference. So I would encourage you to take a look at this report. If you have questions about it, we try to keep it to a limited number of pages, but it is roughly 25 to 30 pages long. But at any time, if you have questions, by all means, please contact me. I'd be happy to sit down or set up an appointment to review it with you, or any of the managers or other staff that you might want to speak with about service delivery. We'd be happy to take time and answer your questions on an individual basis if that's how you would prefer. So I'm not planning to go through the whole report tonight as much as I would like to. Always interested in talking about what we do and the team we have. I'm proud to be affiliated with the Health and Human Services Department and with the staff at our office. A couple of highlights, though, if I may. I asked the managers that I work directly with to give me some highlights, and I'll just do a couple if I may. Throughout calendar year 2015, we continue to build on some of our quarterly projection reports, so that should not be any surprise to the Health and Human Services Board as well as the Council on Aging and Disabilities. We hope that those reports become more and more fine-tuned over time. We can't control every variable, but it's a good way to take data from our actual report, which is a point in time that doesn't necessarily give you predictive value, to using the quarterly projections so that board members can see and ask questions about where we anticipate ending the year. The at-a-glance reports I've already highlighted. A lot of work went into those to pull data from a variety of sources. We are slated to go live with the SharePoint, I believe, sometime later this year, maybe as late as September. But we're hoping that we can start to put this data out onto our SharePoint website as soon as that is developed. In the Aging and Disability Resource Center, many of you are aware that both Highway and the ADRC have put forth funds to help support a transportation survey, and we have staff that are actively involved in that along with our highway partners. One of the issues that came up in calendar year 2015 was the IRIS Family Care 2.0. So that's still a process that will be forthcoming, but a major change in how managed care services to individuals that are eligible for services that are younger, physically disabled, developmentally disabled, or elderly might be able to be eligible for. We still do the functional and financial screens at our office, but the service delivery will be changed with the Planned Family Care and IRIS 2.0. Behavioral health and children's services spent a lot of time last year working on implementation of our electronic health record along with our records division. We have had a couple of issues with regard to wait lists in our alcohol and drug abuse services. Anticipate talking about that with the Health and Human Services Board as we plan for the 2017 budget. In children's services, we saw some changes in our multi-systemic therapy funding. It used to be able to be billed through one of our programs for children. That has discontinued. So we're working with representatives from the state of Wisconsin as well as the Office of the Medicaid Director to see if we can't get that to be a card service. So there's work being done in that respect to continue to enhance funding. Economic support went through a fair amount of work on an income maintenance operational assessment from the state. So we're working hard to implement those changes, not just within St. Croix County, but if you will recall, we are part of a 10-county region that provides economic support services. One of the issues and constraints in our economic support division has been turnover, not only in St. Croix County, but also in the region as well as across the state. So work with regard to stabilizing workforce and looking at options, quite frankly, around how we do that work are things that are going on right now. Public health, if you remember, is accredited, nationally accredited, and we just went through our first cycle of accreditation reports, and that remains stable. We participate in a community health assessment, needs assessment with our 4 hospitals as well as Pierce County. I think it's a model that is likely to be replicated across the state. If it isn't, it should be. It's a good model, and working with our partners to pool resources around concerns of our community, not just from the one health department, but 2, and as well as our hospital and clinic partners. We think it's a good model to, and will give us opportunities to really make an impact on some of those community health issues that have been identified. One of the issues in public health is some emerging health issues, whether it's more communicable disease reports or issues like frac sand, wind turbines. Those are things that are likely to be in the foreseeable future that we will be addressing. Health Center has worked a fair amount on our new campus. 2015, we were very close to budget to census at year end, so that was a good thing. And we are working through one of the issues pertaining to a CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services decision with regard to heightened scrutiny. And for those of you that might not remember what exactly heightened scrutiny is, it's really about having home and community-based funds available for our new community-based residential facilities, the 10-bed and the 40-bed, once we open, because it's on the grounds of a public institution. And so we've been working on that issue to bring forth alternative plans if we need to. That will be likely, hopefully time limited, but more to come on that. We have a joint meeting planned. I believe Colleen Linder sent out an email to the Ad Hoc Health Center Construction Committee and the Health and Human Services Board for June 30th, I believe. So we'll be talking more about plans with regard to addressing that issue. Again, I'm pleased to provide a quick overview to the Board of Supervisors tonight. And if there are questions right now, I'd be happy to answer them or try to answer them. If I can't, I'll get you the answer. But with that, again, would welcome opportunity to talk with you in more detail if you like with regard to services we provide.
Are there any questions at this time? Supervisor
You
Corky.
know, I'm generally interested in the IRIS program and how you see the changes impacting individuals that use that or have folks that they provide caregiving for. Is that going to be, is it being changed? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be more limited?
Well, I think your concerns are similar to concerns that have been expressed, at least in some of the dialogue that I've heard. And what I can do is get you a family care IRIS 2.0 information, so maybe we can meet after and talk in more specifics, but I'll get you a publication on plans that are specific to how that will be administered. And if anybody else would like that, I can make that available as well.
Any other questions? Supervisor Scholberg?
Fred, does your office track the number of insured versus uninsured residents of the county? Have we made some progress in the last year or two to get more people insured? I know that, you know, since the Affordable Care Act, it's been running now for a while, and there was a big push originally, and generally more people sign up, and that's a good subsidized program. And this state had decided not to participate in the expanded federal Medicare provision. But do we have data that shows here, here's how our county compares with others and maybe with the state of Minnesota too?
What I can tell you is I'm not aware of us tracking county-wide statistical information about insurance coverage, whether people have access or have taken advantage of access, and county-wide coverage is better. I can tell you in our clinics, we're seeing less individuals that have no insurance and a higher percentage of Medicaid and insured. So anecdotally, I can tell you maybe about a third previously used to be Medicaid, a third used to be private insurance, and a third would have no insurance. And now those numbers have dropped to maybe 8 to 9% uninsured, no insurance, and more Medicaid and more private coverage. So I can get that detail for you, and I can work with our staff to see if there's a report that can be run statewide that would do that type of a comparison. But I don't have statewide or county-wide information other than what we provide. I know in, maybe put Ron Kiesler on the spot, you do this type of work in Pierce County, and I don't know if you've seen similar type of information that you might be able to share.
Pretty much exactly the same in terms of, and we don't track in Pierce County, countywide numbers, but certainly payer mix is definitely something, the data that we have through the clinic in terms of how many people are insured and not, and we have almost identical data in terms of the payer mix, which is why you see the out-of-home placement costs for like psychiatric acute care dropping continually from year to year after the Affordable Care Act, because those individuals are being signed up either prior to or at the hospital, quite frankly. So
I'll do some digging though and see if I can't find more information, but that's what I would have to offer tonight.
Are there any other questions? If none, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Whoops,
One more
sorry.
question.
One more
Sorry.
question.
Sorry. Thank you,
Almost got
Mr.
away.
Chairman. I just wanted to say, as having the opportunity to chair the HHS board, what a pleasure it's been to work with Fred and his staff. This is a really excellent group of people, and I think the report that was presented tonight was really very well done. It's nice, it's readable, it's clear and concise, and I just wanted to make sure Fred hears us appreciate all the effort that went into putting the report together. It's an excellent department with a huge job to do, and I think they do an awfully good job. So just wanted to be sure to get that on the record. Thanks.
Thank you. And maybe in my office on my computer screen, I'll have this portion of the tape. So anybody wants to come in, they can watch that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll pass that along for sure.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the county administrator's financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packets, board members, you have the financial report through the end of April 2016, so that represents 4 months of the year, 1/3 approximately of the year. We have total budgeted expenditures, general fund expenditures of $68,437,000, and we're at 27% of budget through the end of April. And if you look on the next page, same thing with revenues, general fund subtotal budgeted revenues of $4,656,000. We're at 30% of budgeted revenues. So we're at this point in the year, third of the year, and we're right at where we should be with expenditures and revenues. The finance director is here, Mr. Middet, if you have any specific questions, but otherwise, things look pretty good so far.
Are there any questions? Supervisor Octoroff.
I thought we didn't have pay for performance anymore. Is it called something else? Because I noticed there's $50,000 for both expenses and revenues.
We left, if you recall, when we budgeted in 2016, we we cleared out the pay for performance fund and we applied it towards compensation budgets, but we did reserve approximately $50,000 in that fund. So the fund is still there. It's not really active, but we retained $50,000 in the fund. Is that correct, Bob? I'll have Bob explain it, but I think that's what we did.
Yes, there was 50,000 that remained in the fund, and it's sitting there. And so if you look at the report, we show a budgeted amount, or was that just, the budgeted amount is the 16,000, which is just a 4/12 of the 50,000, but there's no activity against it.
Any other, Supervisor Nelson?
I hope it's not a resuscitation fund, because I think we're done with pay for performance, but shouldn't we, if we're done with the program, putting the money towards something else or in a fund that's gonna be used, that instead of it just sitting there, because it doesn't look very good when you sit with $50,000 and it's doing nothing.
Well, yes, we could close it out. Kinda, I guess we're waiting for more instruction from the board on that, so.
Do we make a motion? Are we allowed to do that, or put it on the agenda? Oh, we can send it to the administration committee according to Jill.
No. So, are there any other questions? Supervisor Nelson?
This was discussed at budget time, and the fund is just, it's not being used. The account is still there. The dollars are sitting there. The intent was to, as we prepare the 2017 budget, to present options for how that fund will be closed out and how those funds could be applied towards most likely 2017 budgeted expenditures. So, and as I closed out this portion of the report, I was going to be saying that the finance department is in the process of preparing the 2017 budget guidelines. In other words, these guidelines will be going out soon to department heads. The administration committee is going to look at them at their next meeting next week, and then these guidelines will be distributed to department heads as they begin preparation for 2017 budgets. That fund at this point is just there, and it will be most likely incorporated into the 2017 budget with a recommendation of the board to close that fund out, but apply those dollars, at the discretion of the board, certainly, but a recommendation will come forward from administration. If the committee wants to take it up sooner than that, we certainly can, but I think as we present the guidelines next week to the committee, this might be a topic for discussion as well.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, we'll move on. Thank you, Bob. We have new business items here. We have Market and Johnson project report on the St. Croix Health Center project.
Yes, I'd like to reintroduce Randy Lefebvre from Market and Johnson. Market and Johnson is the construction manager for the health center construction project, and Randy is going to be providing an update to the board on the status of the project.
Okay, thank
Good
you,
evening,
Pat.
Randy.
Thank you. Well, the job as a whole is going really well. To date, we haven't had any major obstacles in our way. The building itself is progressing well. Actually, we're probably a little bit ahead of schedule. I don't want to get that too far on record, but it's going well. We have a video that plays as well.
Oh, yes, do you have something?
Yep. I think we had, I think it was the
Sorry, I didn't have anything to put in here. Bear with me for a minute. So I'll just put the camera up, or the video first.
I think you're okay there.
Proceed. IT's okay with that, right? All right, so you can see this is back in April, but it's a good demonstration of how things have progressed really well. What they're doing in this photo with the crane is setting up the major equipment. All this stuff on this truck here is going on top of that flat roof. It's a large piece of equipment, air handling units. It just functions the building for it. And as we get around the building here, this large building, the taller structure, is the penthouse, and that has a majority of the equipment that provides air and heating for the building. That structure, believe it or not, is jam full. I mean, you can hardly walk in there, and I'm sure Mr. Jim Ellsbury can vouch for that as well. But it's being utilized to the fullest extent. As we get around here, this building is considered Building B, and as of today, majority of it, I would say probably 80% of it is drywalled. The last 20% is down here on the bottom. Taping and sanding is working its way around north to west. And as of right now, as most of you have probably seen, all the siding is on, with the exception probably about 20% of the siding for little canopies here and there, but the red siding looks fantastic out there. The front canopy work is all framed in and ready for the siding folks to finish up what they can out there. In this building, Building A, the center building, we are painting on this backside, north end, northwest. So there's that activity going on. There's ceramic tile on the floors and the bathrooms going on. And this southeast portion here, that is probably the last spot that we're going to finish, only because the pool structure that is currently in the state of Wisconsin design review, once that is finalized, then we can finish that little section there. Building C, the dimension unit, that is, it's fantastic right now. Ceiling grid's in, paint's done, resilient floor in the resident rooms is going in, ceramic tile in the bathrooms, and spa and so forth are complete. So it's progressing well. Get out of that. So any questions I should ask that? Site work is going to start tomorrow. We're going to start grading for roads and curbs and gutters and so forth.
Supervisor Nelson?
Has New Richmond Fire Department walked through this before you guys finish it off? Because where I worked at my prior job, it was a practice for us before facilities are done, the fire department does a walkthrough so they can visualize what they're coming up to before there's furniture, occupants, especially the type of occupants you're going to have here. And if they haven't been through there, I think it's a very good idea before things progress much farther, so they can visualize on many different areas they do. I don't know if they have done it yet, but I think it would be a good practice.
Yeah, good point. I mean, and the city of New Richmond has asked for that and have done that. We've authorized to come through at any given point to walk through, identify anything they see. Speaking of inspections and so forth, the city of New Richmond has been attending meetings that we have every few weeks, been very active in reviewing the project to make sure it's on task.
Any other questions? Sure. Supervisor Ring?
Thanks for the update. And the budget, we're good with that? And are there any concerns that you have that you might want to share with us?
No, the budget's going well. No major concerns. The elephant in the room is always the existing building, how that's going to be got into, and see what we have there once we expose walls. That's an old building, but I think we're managing our money properly right now to have enough in the funds to take care of any unforeseen issues. Although we've had 5 change orders thus far, all of those are other than the pool piece, all those are internal, just simply moving money from contingency to usage, and that's just simply done for an auditing purpose. So it's going well.
Any other questions? If none, thank you, Randy, for a good report. Appreciate it. Thank you for the good work.
I had to restart the computer, so could you just do your roll call again, please? Thank you.
What's this?
Deja vu. I think you have to say that you're here again. That's what.
Okay. Oh, how'd that happen?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if Randy left, but I just wanted to thank Randy and his partner, Matt, from Market and Johnson, along with Tuan and Rick from Horty Elving, the architectural design firm, and also the internal working group of Fred, Johnson, Sandy, Jim Ellsbury, Bob Middett, Scott Cox, and the internal management team, and then also the ad hoc committee of the construction chaired by Dave Peterson. I think a lot of good work, a lot of planning, but a lot of good work has gone into this project over the past year and a half, but it couldn't be done with all those people that I just mentioned, and probably some that I failed to mention, but it all derives from the leadership of the board and putting this project together. But I think we have a good construction management firm overseeing the project along with good design. So it's a project that I think we can all be proud of, and I hopefully in the near future, I know we had a tour several months ago with the committee. We'd probably like to do that again, you know, as the project progresses, and invite the board back to see what's been done. Thanks.
Thank you. We will move on now to the number 2. It's a resolution approving law enforcement service agreement between the St. Croix County Sheriff and the town of Troy. Do I have a motion? Supervisor Kiesler. Supervisor Berkey, second. Now it's open for discussion. Supervisor Brinkman.
This is just a continuation of something that's been going on for years between St. Croix County and Troy Township. There was some wording reclarified, and new fees were set forth for 2016, 17, and 18 between the Sheriff's Department and the town of Troy. Again, this is nothing new. Just really a changing of some wording, and the rates have been set for 16, 17, and 2018. It did pass public protection on a unanimous vote, so.
Thank you. Any questions, any discussion? Supervisor Berkey?
As I was reading through the minutes from public protection or some background, I noticed that perhaps this will be used for a model for other towns. If someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but we really appreciate the town of Troy having the Sheriff's Patrol, particularly with respect to changes in population, and we have 3 park areas. Lots of things have changed in our town, and we appreciate the relationship with Captain Crot and the sheriff and others.
Any other questions or discussion? Sheriff Schultz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to clarify your point, Supervisor, this is a standard agreement that the Office of Corporation Counsel came up for our agency. We do have this type of agreement with 3 townships right now, but again, as other townships might look towards townships such as Troy, they can see that arrangements like this can potentially work for them as well. And it is a matter that the board must authorize me as your sheriff to enforce town ordinances, otherwise I don't have the authority to do that. So this is what you're accomplishing.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Any other questions? If none, we'll vote. That's all yeses, the supervisor's president. Thank you. Number 3 is amendment to St. Croix County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 17, Chapter 4, Section 17.40, Floodplain Overlay District 17.40B2. I have a motion from Supervisor Ring, second from Supervisor Hanson. Discussion, Supervisor Ring.
Just to provide a little bit of background, so this amendment is an amendment to the floodplain overlay district. The maps for this, the basis for the maps for this are FEMA maps. And what happened here was the map was in error. And what it meant to our St. Croix County resident, a resident who lived in this area, he was not able to build I think it was a garage type structure. It took 2 years of raising his hand and saying, no, this is wrong. So what a floodplain ordinance does, there's an ordinance with text and with a map. The map designates where you can build and where you can't and where you have to have insurance if you do build. Well, it's just somewhat of a sad story that it took so long to get this figured out. They had to hire an outside consultant. What was very, very beneficial in this process is that our LiDAR mapping, which this board approved a few years ago, it just has many, many uses, one of which just demonstrating what the topography is in this area. So it's correcting things, but what we learned from our staff is that this is not unusual at all. There are lots of mistakes, but when we heard from the resident who had to suffer through this for 2 years, it was just a story that we don't want to repeat. And I hope that we can find better ways to make these corrections, especially with the technology that we have today.
Supervisor Hanson.
Right, and just to continue with what Agnes was saying, the errors were profound. In some places, the river wasn't even in the floodplain. The floodplain was outside of the river way. It was incredible. The gentleman who really went way beyond what most of us might have even done to get his garage built, he was denied by FEMA, and finally FEMA paid a little bit of attention and gave permission for this to go forward. And I guess it's really quite an anomaly that they went ahead with this. So we're lucky that we're being allowed to change this ordinance by the federal government. So this is kind of unique and a good thing.
Any other questions or discussion? Supervisor Peavy.
I just had a question. Have the property owners been notified besides just that one? Because this is, I look about 35, 40 different parcels in Nogalley and right next to me, actually. So has everybody been notified that land is no longer in the floodplain? Looking at the map, I don't see anybody went in that wasn't, but are those people that?
I can confirm that, but I believe they were. Oh, is Ellen here? Or is Kevin? Oh.
Yes, all the landowners were actually notified twice. They had to be notified by the person doing the flood study, who initially turned all the information into FEMA so that FEMA would approve it. And then as a part of our process, we went and around that red boundary there was the study area, and we recreated the list, sent it out to everybody so they had an opportunity to come and either hear what it was about or present comments or suggestions. So, yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? If not, I'll call. Second from Supervisor Hanson. Okay, we have a motion, second up, so we can vote no. Thank you. And this was all yeses, the supervisor's president. Thank you. This time we'll look for requests for future agenda items. If anybody has any, bring them forward. You can bring them forward anytime, but Supervisor Berkey?
I would like to have, for the opportunity for our 4-H youth agent to come before a county board meeting at a meeting in the next 2 or 3 months. So just maybe keep that in mind. Heather Veerling is our youth agent, and I think it would be nice to hear specifically from that part of University Extension. Not around the fair, because the fair, when the fair happens, they're busy.
Okay, thank you. Any other? None? Thank you. We'll take the county clerk's report, correspondence.
I have no correspondence. Just a reminder of the WCA annual conference coming up September 25th through the 27th in Milwaukee. Early registration is August 5th, so I will be sending out a reminder in July again. But if you're interested, just let me know. I do have some rooms reserved in Milwaukee if you're planning on attending. I did send out a request for information the auditors have asked for, and I'm still waiting for a few more responses. I've laid that on your desk if I didn't hear from you. And then just a little side note, Judy Whiff from Rivertown sent just a notice to both Pat and I that she is retired. And she's been here for a number of years and covered the meetings, and she said she actually really enjoyed the meetings. And so if she's watching, happy retirement to Judy Whiff.
Is it?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Just one brief announcement. I sent out a notice to the board May 2nd, but I'd like to have Ken Witt stand up. He's in the back of the room. Ken is our new operations manager for the county. He comes to us with lots of great government experience working for the cities of Reedsburg, Sparta, and Village of East Troy. He's a graduate of Wisconsin schools with undergraduate and master's degree in public administration. And Ken's been with us now, I think he's in his 3rd week of employment. So you will get to know him over the course of the next few months, especially as we get into budget time. So thanks. Thank you, Ken.
Ken?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Are there any other announcements? Supervisor Berkey.
On behalf of the Fair Board, I would like to announce that the annual rodeo this year is on June 17th and 18th at the fairgrounds, which is a Friday and Saturday. And there are excellent activities for kids and families and anyone that doesn't have anything to do that weekend. And what I'll do is ask the clerk to send this out to all the board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing none, thank you, everyone, and the meeting is adjourned.